Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
What's happening, everybody? I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Account for Your Life podcast. Today, here's what we're talking about: the purpose of your superpower. The purpose of your superpower. Wow. So before I get into that, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, definitely head on over to YouTube and check out The Healthy Accountant. We pretty much stream this broadcast there. So if you listen to this literally on the podcast, please go over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. We are really looking to do some great things with this content over the next, years however how long God allows us to do it. So the YouTube channel is The Healthy Accountant. Subscribe there. Make sure you subscribe and like the post. Comment, if you will. Just let other people know. You know how YouTube is. They love when people like the actual posts that's there, the videos that's there. So thank you so much for that. So we're going to talk about this thing called superpower. And we've been talking about that the last couple of days. And superpower, how we access our initial superpower is through the anticipation of expectation, right? So that's how we initially move towards our superpower. And yesterday we talked about, how to use your superpower. And today we're just going to talk about why you actually have it, the purpose of that superpower. So back in the early days of Moses and, the children of Israel, they came out of somewhere. Where did they come out of? They came out of Egypt. And all throughout the book of Exodus, right? There was a time, let me back up. When they went back to look the distance between Egypt and Canaan, they realized that the trip was only 40 days. The trip walking was about 40 days, but yet they stood 40 years in the desert. Why'd they spend 40 years in the desert? What happened? See, one of the things that I'm going to say today, you're going to have to take territory or die. Take territory or die. What am I talking about? Look, the purpose of your superpower is to take territory. And if you're not going to take the territory, then you got to go. That's in essence what happened. That's in essence what God had to do. He says, man, I got these stiff-necked. I've got these folks that all they know is slavery. All they know is the times that they lived in Egypt, and they complain, and they still want to bow down to the same stuff that they've been doing. You know what? I gotta wait. I can't they're not going to take the territory, even though I had it for them. See, think about this. Do you know how many people have superpower today? How many people on this planet? About 8 billion people possess a superpower, but they're stuck in the wilderness. Most, probably 9. I can't even say, but a lot of people are stuck in the wilderness. And they're complaining in the wilderness about all the wrongs, all the hard times, all the stuff we went through last year, all the problems that we had because we were Black, all the problems that this one had, this like just constant feedback loop of stuff. So God's like, well, if they're not going to take the territory, I'm going to have to wait to the ones who will. I want you to think about this, especially people who are in Generation X, Generation, what's the other, the baby boomers, and the ones before them, not many left of them, but the baby boomers and Generation X. I'm going to say this because if you're an X like me, luckily for me, I was 40. Listen, that's a generation, guys. I lived a whole generation doing nothing. except wandering. Now, here's how good God is. Some of the people that was with the Israelites in the wilderness, everybody didn't die off. Some people he says, you know what? Even though they're part of this, I still got something for them. So the purpose of your superpower is to take territory. But here's the thing: if God realized that, well, I don't think I can use them, then I'm gonna have to wait to the next generation. So that means he's got to let you die. We will never experience the promised land, the Canaan. But here's the thing about even getting Canaan. They had to take it. I was listening to something a couple of weeks ago that I believe brought on this topic today. And as I took in the information, and one of the things you have to learn when you read things or watch things or learn things, you actually have to first be able to say it in your own words, right? So what I'm taking from what I was learning, the knowledge that I was getting, right, was that somebody has my land. Somebody's already occupying the land that God's given me. And in order to get the land, you actually have to go and take the land. You have to take the land. Today, like in the Bible, when we read the conquest of Joshua, oh, I love Joshua. Because it's like everybody had died. God let Moses go. He let Aaron go. He let a whole generation go. And then he says, Joshua, it's your turn. Joshua was like the millennial. Joshua was like, the generation Z. and as much as a lot of people complain about the millennials and Zs, God's finding them to work with. I see more millennials in Z. Well, and why I say millennials, I see more millennials in business just killing it because there's no obstruction in them. They're not allowing the past results of their parents. They're not allowing the past results of what's happened in the past to stop them from going in direction. But I'm still listening to these Generation X's. They're just complaining. Oh, I'm getting tired of these people. They don't want to work. No, they want to work. It's just that they don't want to work the way you want to work. They think the way you want to work is dumb. Somebody gonna get me a witness on that one, because if you are a generation or a millennial, hey, what's going on, cousin? So the thing about the territory is that God's still gonna give the territory. He gonna give it to somebody. It's kind of like if I don't take the territory, well, if I don't take the territory, then that means he's looking at my sons. He's like Jared and Jacob. Okay, well, if Genome and Japheth do not take the territory, then I'm going to have to just hand it over to them. Or if they don't take the territory, I'm going to have to hand it over to the next generation after them. So we all have to say to ourselves, it doesn't, listen, whatever's happened in the past. Think about this. They was in Egypt. They was in slavery for 400 years. African Americans was in slavery for 400 years. Are they still talking about it? Yes, they're still memorializing it. Why? Because let me just back up. I'm going to come down a little bit. Why? Because here's the thing. Those things were for the purpose that God meant them to be. What happened? Good morning, Judy. What happened in the wilderness? God had to train them. He had to bring them out because listen, imagine you had a son or daughter, and you want to leave them an inheritance. Do you want to leave them an inheritance and they're not equipped to handle the inheritance? Or are you going to just hand it over to them even though you never trained them how to handle it? Most parents will say, I don't want to do that, even though I want to give it to them. That's how God is. He's like, well, I got to first train them. I got to first give them a way to come into alignment with me. That's what he does. He says, I'm going to give you a way to come into alignment with me. And I remember growing up as a Christian, and now I'm a kingdom person. So that's Christian. I love the fact that what a Christian represents, but the kingdom is way better. I'm gonna just tell you, the kingdom is way better. So what is the kingdom? That's another podcast. But so I grew up with the law, right? And it was just do's and don'ts, and I could not understand it, because for some reason something was out of alignment. And as kids, look, kids know. I'm gonna tell you, kids know. Kids can see something and like, something don't feel right. Now, because they're kids and they're not gonna, say anything to their parents, or they may not necessarily do anything that circumvents the situation, but they know, because kids are pure. When kids come out, they are pure. Now, over time, they just kind of go along with everything else. So God gives the law so that he can help train them. Do you know how simple it is to follow the law of God? It's simple. It's kind of like it's just a scorecard of, okay, that's what God is saying. So I'm going to make sure if it says to do something, I'll do it. And if it says that I shouldn't do it, I won't do it. It's kind of like when he was talking to Adam and Eve. He says, look, you can have everything. I'm going to give you everything. He gives them everything. Think about this. Imagine this. You give your kids everything. And the only thing you say is, look, that one thing, you ain't got to mess with that. Unfortunately, if you do mess with that, it's not going to be good. Would you take everything, or would you take one thing? Everybody should think, would you take everything, or would you take one thing? That's kind of how I look at the law. The law is just like, hey, oh, that's simple. That's simple enough, right? There's no reason for me to be like, oh my goodness, there's all these do's and don'ts. No, what those things do for me is they help me to stay in alignment with who God created me to be, so that I can access the superpower, so that I can actually take the territory. What did he tell to Joshua in chapter 1 of Joshua? He says to Joshua, keep the book of the law in your mouth, in verse number 8, meditate on it day and night, and do what it says. He says, and then you will make your way prosperous and have good success. I'm gonna tell you, when I read that verse for the first time a few years ago, I was on the ground almost. I was like, what is this? This was the success formula that I was missing all these years. And I'm like, that was there. Now, I heard be of good courage, be strong. I heard that many times, and I heard people talk, I'm gonna just be of good courage, but they missed that. I never heard anyone preach on that message of keep the book of the law in your mouth, meditate on it day and night, and do what it says, and you will be prosperous. What? I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. Everyone's looking for prosperity there. If we would have known, if they would have brought that into the Christian school that I was at, they said, look, you can be prosperous. All you gotta do is just what? That's it. That's it. Keep the book along your mouth. Or that means I need to read and understand it. Oh, that means I need to, all I gotta do is think of, you tell me I could be prosperous. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. That's all people are looking for. They're looking for prosperity, and they would do it by any means necessary. But we didn't understand what it meant. Walking around with a superpower, not understanding the purpose, not realizing that the purpose of our superpowers is not just to have self and be prosperous and, and be able to just say we can do and have and all. No, the purpose of that is to go get that territory that I said you was going to get. Imagine if Joshua would have complained to God. Come on. God comes to Joshua in chapter 1. And it's just like, well, Moses is dead, Joshua. So it's time to go. But look at what God said to Joshua. He says, well, Joshua, this is who you are. What? Listen, Joshua had already seen the Red Sea. Joshua had already seen all the miracles that Moses did. And then he realized that you gonna use me for that? He didn't second guess anything. Joshua went forward as right after God told him to be of good courage 3 times. He said it 3 times between chapter Between verse 1 and verse number 9, he said the same thing 3 times. Oh, that means that was important. All throughout Joshua, you see how courageous he was. He never second guessed God because he knew. He knew that God had already given him the power. He knew that the purpose of the power was to take the territory. Canaan was theirs, but they had to fight for it. Let me ask you guys a question. Are you ready to fight for your territory today? Look, I was at the gym this morning and it hit me. And I just was like, wait a second. It's the territory. Why am I even concerned about anything outside of taking the territory that God has already set aside for me? Yes, Gwen is saying, I'm ready to fight. She's ready. God is asking us, look, I've already set it aside for you. Canaan is waiting for you. Yet you might have to march around. You may have to march around that territory. See, what God did is when they marched around Jericho, it was like they didn't even have to fight. Think about this, before they had to fight, he showed them how he would make it easy. Before they had to fight, he showed them how he would make it easy. But they had to follow his direction. And if they didn't follow his direction, in that there's a story in there, the battle of Ai. When they went in, they figured Ai was small. They would go take it. They lost because somebody in the crew didn't follow. See, God is very simple. Follow my laws, or you're subject to consequences. So here's what you're going to take away today, because I got to go. The purpose of your superpower is what? To take territory, to repossess the land that's yours. Now, the first thing one would ask is, well, Jay, how do you do that? Okay. Align yourself with God's laws. And I'm not just talking about the 10 commandments. I'm talking about every law. I'm talking about natural law and spiritual law. There's a natural law of gravity. You're going to have to align yourself with gravity. You got to align yourself with the laws of inertia, the laws of momentum. Like, these are things that we have to get in alignment with. And so if we find ourselves not doing something, then that means we're in the law of inertia, which means that inertia is an object at rest, stays at rest until it's acted upon by an outside force. And then momentum is, an object in motion stays in motion until something stops it. These are all laws. So we've got to align ourselves with every law, natural and spiritual, so that as we come into our power of expectation, that's our superpower, guys, the power to expect the best, right? The power to know that God is leading us. We come into this alignment. And then we see the territory and we go and we take it. Here's how we take the territory, guys. We take it through our creativity. See, because this is a spiritual warfare. So you're going to have to get creative with how you go take. I have to get creative in the realm of finance. I have to get creative in the realm of personal development for people and how to expand the kingdom. I have to get more creative about how I use my creativity so that the territory opens up, and whoever's there, they have to run, because all of a sudden the territory shift hands. But God's asking us all to do that. He's asking you, he says, I've already given. He says, be of good courage. But here's the thing. Keep the book of the law in your mouth. Meditate on it day and night. Do what it says, and you will make your way prosperous and have good success. Guys, your superpower, the purpose of your superpower is to take territory. Let's get out there. Let's take territory today. Get in there, read that word of God, Align yourself with what the word is saying so you can do what the word said. I'm going to say that again. Align yourself with what the word is saying so you can do what the word says. Guys, I appreciate you for joining me for this episode of the Account for Life podcast. Jay Moore, the Healthy Accountant. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe to our channel on YouTube, The Healthy Accountant over there. And please like, subscribe, and share this with your friends, your family, those that may benefit from a program like this. I appreciate you guys. I love you. And I will see you back here on the next episode tomorrow at 9 a.m. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.